Performance appraisals at USANA are dead. At least they're dead in the way you've always done them in the past. We've never been a company that has been content to follow the pack and do what every other company is doing. We're taking that same unique approach to a new way of looking at performance, aiming to be different by design. Instead of a once-a-year performance review, USANA is moving toward a two-part program, performance management and talent management, designed to inspire and engage employees while allowing us to create the information we need to make decisions about our employees. Rating yourself on a scale of 1 to 5 using criteria that may or may not apply to your job is archaic and honestly a little weird. If you rate yourself a 5, you come across as arrogant, even if you've done an exceptional job in that area. But if you rate yourself on the lower end, you can seem incompetent. Unfortunately, that's exactly how USANA and most other companies have been conducting performance reviews for years. The rating system and subsequent discussion between employee and manager is usually not a true representation of an employee's actual performance. Here's how we're going to be different. We'll start out with what we're calling performance management. In performance management, we're going to focus on 3 different tools we're hoping will help us inspire and engage employees here at USANA. We know there's no secret formula to creating an inspired employee, but we also know that having a truly engaged workforce is one of the biggest keys to our continued success. With that in mind, we've created these tools for managers and employees to help foster better communication and deeper engagement. First, we're going to have what's called a manager check-in. Every quarter, managers will conduct meetings with their employees and ask 3 simple questions. 1. What have you done well this quarter? 2. What do you need to do to improve? 3. What will your objectives be until the next manager check-in and beyond? We chose these 3 questions for some very specific reasons. 1. These questions are simple. Anyone at any point in time should be able to remember the 3 questions that their manager is concerned about. Knowing what you're being measured against is essential to doing a good job. 2. These questions are universal. It doesn't matter if you work in customer service or the cafe, packaging, or project management. These questions still stay relevant. A manager may answer them in different ways across the company, but they can be answered for any job at any level. 3. These questions are what we all need to know in order to do a good job. Knowing your manager's perception of the answers to these 3 questions is essential to feeling like there's a reason and a purpose behind the work we do every day. These questions are meant to drive conversations and improve results. Questions don't have to be limited to the 3 questions listed here, and the check-ins don't have a set time limit. Second, we're going to ask employees to have a one-on-one employee-led meeting every month. Employees need to own their career. These monthly meetings are designed for them to take ownerships of initiatives. There isn't a specific subject or format to these meetings, but we expect that most of the time employees will keep their managers updated on the status of items discussed in the manager check-in. If we don't meet frequently enough, the conversation turns from a discussion of current work to giving feedback on past performance. Employees and managers who want to do their best work need to meet often. To use a sports analogy, if you only look at the scoreboard at the end of the game, it's already too late. In some departments, these meetings may last longer. In other departments, a supervisor might only have a certain amount of time they can dedicate to meeting every month. For USANA, these conversations are not in addition to the work of a manager, they are the work of a manager. However, this is a flexible system that will best be worked out in individual departments between managers and employees. The bottom line is that we expect our employees to make an effort to ensure this type of communication is happening with their manager. We can't improve what we can't talk about. Third, we are going to start giving social feedback. Managers and employees should understand the impact of their performance on those whom they work with. The impact of our daily work has ripple effects throughout the company. If that weren't the case, there probably wouldn't be a reason for our job to even exist. Social feedback allows anyone within our global organization to provide feedback on anybody else. Instead of sending an email that can get lost in the shuffle or forgotten over time, this tool collects feedback on our interactions with others and keeps them in one place. Knowing how we are perceived by those influenced by our work only helps us to better understand those 3 questions in the manager check-in and really be on the road to improving. None of the tools we've just seen under the heading of performance management are designed to give us a score or a rating that would then turn into a raise, promotion, or an improvement plan. That's not what performance management process is designed to do. Instead, it's designed to get managers and employees talking more frequently about what a good job looks like. While it may be great to be able to measure and reward the performance you have, wouldn't it be better still to be able to improve it? As a company, however, USANA still needs to have a way to systematically look at the performance of its employees and determine areas of top performance, as well as areas for improvement. That's where we'll look at the process of talent management, or in other words, making decisions about the talent we have here. It turns out assessing someone's skills produces inconsistent data. Objective as a manager may try to be in evaluating you on, say, strategic thinking, it turns out that how much strategic thinking they do, how valuable they think strategic thinking is, or how tough a rater they are significantly affects their assessment of your strategic thinking. The good news is that even though we're pretty inconsistent at rating other people's skills, we're highly consistent when rating our own feelings and intentions. That's where USANA's talent review comes in. The talent review gives managers information they can use to make decisions. This information provides data that isn't just a bunch of opinions on an individual characteristics of the job, but instead provides us direction on what we should do with this employee based on their performance. Instead of basing our decisions on the opinions of a single supervisor, we're going to solicit input from a variety of sources which are impacted by each employee. Coworkers, subordinates, and supervisors across departments will be asked to provide feedback on each employee. We can even ask for feedback from people impacted outside of USANA. They will be asked a series of questions with the optional ability to provide a summary comment. Those 4 questions are: 1. Given what I know, and if it were my own money, I'd give this person the highest possible raise. Answered on a scale from strongly disagree to strongly agree. 2. I would always want this person on my team. Answered on a scale from strongly disagree to strongly agree. 3. This person is at risk for low performance. Answered as either a yes or a no. 4. This person is ready for a promotion today. Answered as either a yes or a no. When you answer these questions for another employee, your answers will remain anonymous. We're not asking for you to write an essay about another employee. Just give a quick snapshot of your feelings and intentions based on your perception of working with them. We want this talent review to give us the best possible representation of the truth, which means we need people to feel secure that their answers won't be used in any way that creates direct conflict for them. We'll only do this talent review once a year, and these questions help even the playing field across the company. Determining the quality of an employee's performance shouldn't come down to the opinion of a single manager. Instead, the talent review creates more objective data by incorporating input from supervisors, peers, and subordinates, the people impacted by our work. Managers will use the data received from each employee to make decisions on pay, promotions, and team development. Most managers are good at making decisions when they have good information. In the absence of good information, managers are just guessing. As managers use data from the talent review to make decisions, the data is simply a tool, not the decision maker itself. An employee who scores high on the question of receiving a high increase and high on the question of whether people want them to always be a part of USANA isn't necessarily our best employee. On the other hand, someone who scores low on both of those questions isn't our worst employee. However, when a manager sees those scores, they'll know how others perceive that employee. If the perception doesn't reflect the manager's reality, that's where we have the opportunity to make a difference. Remember, as great as it is to recognize performance, it's still always better for everyone if we can improve it. Our goal is to talk more about how we plan to make that improvement happen for each employee. In most companies' review systems, they try to express the infinite variety and nuance of a person to a single number. We're looking for a better way. Surely a better understanding will come from more communication between employees providing feedback, communication between leaders making decisions about compensation or about your career, and communication with your manager to define your daily work. This idea and process is something uniquely USANA. We're trying to figure out What's the most detailed view of you we can gather and share? How does data support a conversation about your performance? How can we equip our leaders with tools to have insightful conversations? As we move forward on the path to better understanding the answers to those questions, we welcome your feedback. Please check out the Performance Management page on USANAverse for more resources. There will also be other trainings on how to specifically handle each of the processes you've just learned about. Thank you for taking a few minutes to learn about how we view performance here at USANA, and welcome to what we hope will be the future of performance.